Alright, people, we are back with the Week 7 recap for Season 2 of the Battle Hub Draft League. We're going to start this one off with an absolute banger, one of the best battles from the previous season. Scorpion versus the Notorious H.I.M. On Scorpion side, we got the Choice Scarf Thundy, in case of probably like a Dragon Dance Gyarados. Also outspeeds the Pult. We've got Trimmer, the Torterra, we got the Mirror Herb, on the Cleavor, we got Sash Grind, but then on H.I.M side, we got the Clef, we got the Lycanroc, we've got Gyarados, who can set up a Dragon Dance, Leavanny for Webs, Infernape, and Pult. And let's not forget the Gudra, Hisui, and the Zama on Scorpion side. So we're going to start off with Pult versus Greninja. Depending on what you want to do here, this could be a dicey situation for either one. They might not want to risk potential Focus Sash or Scarf Grin on the opposing side. They're actually just going to go for a safe Shadow Sneak, turn into a Goats type, and hit him with that. Goes for a Draco, brings him down to 1, live their Sash, and at this point, yeah, I'm wondering though if, you got some chip off on him, which is great. I don't know if spikes would have been better. I'm not seeing any form of removal personally from H.I.M. So those spikes would have been up for the rest of the game, but it really just depends on how much value we'll get out of it. Also, their Greninja is immediately down to 1 HP, so they're really risking a lot there. Kind of a big gamble for Scorpion, letting one of his top Pokemon go down to 1 on the first turn. But, that's just how he's playing Greninja this week. It's his lead. It's his Focus Sash lead. He's got a lot of other threats like Choice Band, Torterra, and Scarf Thunderous. Ends up sending in the Leavanny now. Goes for the Flash Cannon, brings him down to half. I believe also, though, I'm not sure, does Cleavor have Defog? It doesn't seem to me like Scorpion has any form of removal either. Yeah, pretty much his only form of removal is going to be that Defog or Choreo and Cleavor, which Cleavor is not Defog, or Hatterene to bounce him back. So if these webs go up, which I'm pretty sure they're going to, because it's going to outspeed, yep, there's the webs up for the rest of the game, which can be dicey indeed to have to deal with. So Leavanny did its job. It might have gotten 2-shot immediately, but all it really had to do was get up webs, and it did a good, fine job of that. So now at this point, it all just depends on what they want to do to send it in. You can't Dragon Dance up in front of this thing with Gyarados because it's going to Thunderbolt you. Infernape, probably the best play, just to, I don't see really too many switch-ins to a close combat. They could go Thunderous, but then they risk also going for a Flare Blitz and doing a bunch of damage to him. They could easily just sack off the Greninja here, see what they go for. Yep, and that's what they're going to do. Safe play by Scorpion. See what they go for. They could also U-turn out. Webs are up. However, they do at least have the Scarf Thunderous, which means that they're not going to... not only do they not care about the webs, but they're also already boosted, so they can always have that in the back as a way of being faster. So now at this point, it's all just a matter of what they want to do. They've gone for close combat. If they're locked in, it means that Raiden can easily outspeed it. And I believe at this point, yeah, no ground types on H.I.M side. Its only form of potential ground type is a potential ground TERA Gyarados. So until then, this thing is free to Volt Switch. It's faster with its Choice Scarf. And even if the only way the Infernape is faster if it's Scarf, and it's Scarf can close combat, it's a pretty safe play. Going for the Volt Switch here. H.I.M is going to want to get out of there. Not sure what they're going to want to go into. They could go Clef. They could also go Pult. Although Pult is going to tip a little bit of chip. They actually go out into Twilight. Disagree with this play here. I think that Lycanroc was one of the few Pokemon that could take out Thunderous. You definitely do not want to switch in Lycanroc on any attack. Yeah, I think going either Clef or well, you probably want to say Pult. Yeah, I think Clef was the play there. That's your wall. That's your thing that can absorb damage. Sponge hits for the rest of the team. Although now at this point, they can see that they're likely locked in with a Choice Scarf. They can ground TERA here, go for the Dragon Dance, and even if they switch out, well, they're still Dragon Danced up. although that will consume their Terra. But I'm pretty sure this is the only Terra captain on the team, so it's fine. So I'm going to switch out there. Let's see if they ended up going for the Terra. Bring in the Night Wolf. You are going to have the webs, but then the Dauntless Shield will give it a defense boost. And yep, there's the Terra. I can only assume it's Terra ground. Yep, there it is. So go for that Dragon Dance. You're +1 now. In a half decent position. But this Zamazenta is difficult to deal with. I'm not sure if you're going to want to stand versus this thing. Depends on how much they can do. Because we have an Iron Defense Body Press set. That is a very interesting strategy. Can definitely out-boost this guy. They go out in a Thicker Bell. Which could be a little dangerous, you know. This thing almost always has what's called steel coverage for this thing. But this Clef could be max HP, max defense Rocky Hammer. That might be why they wanted to save it for Zamazenta as their way of dealing with it. They actually go for the Thunder Wave. Interesting. Lots of speed control coming off of H.I.M side. So, thinking about what they want to do here, they could go for a Flash Cannon. But that might be the obvious play. If they go into Infernape on a Flash Cannon, that means that something's going to take a lot of damage. Keep in mind, they still have the webs up, so Cleavor and Zama. And also, Zama's already gotten its defense boost, so the fact that you forced it out of there is great, because now it's not going to have it anymore. Goes into Gyarados on the Draco. Yeah, I do not agree with that play either. You know, as much as I can respect wanting to come in and get a Dragon Dance off versus a Scooter while it's paralyzed, you know, getting all that damage off, Gyarados' decent defenses are a pro whenever it's at full and you're setting up a Dragon Dance and you're hard to KO. But now you've gotten this thing weakened to the point where it can easily be revenged by probably even a Dark Pulse by the Scarfthundy. And it seems Scorpion knows that, so they're going to send it out now. But they do go for the Waterfall, anticipating a switch, trying to get some damage off. Let's see if we're going to see here if H.I.M anticipates this thing to be Scarf. It's screaming Scarf, by the way. They just sent it in on a potential Dragon Dance. And if they're going to switch out. If I was H.I.M, I'd probably try to go out into Clef. But at this point, yeah, they just continue to send in the Thunderous, and there's just no switch-ins. Goes to Dark Pulse, actually lives! JK when I said that it could be revenged. Like I said, you know, Gyarados has decent defenses. It's a shame that it took that much from Draco. Though it was kind of a play whether or not they were going to stay or not with the Clef. Good on Scorpion for getting that read. That was a tough read to make. Zama does now come in, and it has -1 speed. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to outspeed this Moxie Gyarados or not. But I don't think any one hit from Gyarados is going to kill this Zama. The only thing is if they outspeed it and flinch it with a Waterfall. So we'll see if that happens here or not. At this point, you know, you've got the Infernape still, you got the Dragapult. It goes to the Waterfall. We do see the flinch. As you can see, we do have leftovers on the Zama, and you're going to need to get one more flinch in order to OHKO the Zama from there. And goes for Earthquake now, actually. And it doesn't quite get the kill. Goes for Body Press. You can respect it. Maybe trying to see if you can get that KO from there. 20 base power stronger. But I can also respect it because taking out the Zama with 2 flinches would be quite nasty. And I wouldn't want to do that myself to an opponent. So the Gyarados goes down now. They're down to 3 Pokemon. One of them is this Dragapult, who is still he's a little chipped, but he's decently healthy. With webs, this thing is terrifying. And the only faster Pokemon, Thundurus, is gone. So having lost the Thundurus is huge. I was surprised that they didn't run a potential Grass Knot for the Terra Ground Gyarados, but they probably wanted to hit other things. Obviously, Dark Pulse for Polton, Sludge Bomb for Clef, so we can't fault it for not running Grass Knot. The Draco Meteor does a decent amount, but now their attack is decreased, and this thing is free to go for Draco with not too many switching, but it gets paralyzed. That's rough. That is indeed rough. That would have done a lot of damage to this Infernape. At this point, though, you're going to want to switch out. Goes out into Nightwolf. Some Stealth Rocks would have been amazing here for Notorious H.I.M. If he could have gotten those up with Clef. I'm not sure if they have them or not. Brings in Pult once again in order to continue to force switches. Going to go for the play rough, just in case they miss it. Goes for the safe Shadow Ball. Keep their attack intact. Salma goes down. They still have the AV Gudra, who's at pretty decent health. They also have this this Baraka. This poor guy is gonna get sticky webbed. Not sure if this thing can do anything at this point. It can probably live Shadow Ball, but I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember what Cleavor's special defense is. I feel like it's average. Goes out into Reptile. They know that they're choice specs into Shadow Ball at this point, I'm pretty sure. Yep, there's the Shadow Ball. Eats it up like a truck, and down goes Pult. Wow, look at that. So, now it's all down to this Clef and this Infernape. And at this point, I know that they only have 2 Pokemon, but something in my subconscious, I haven't looked at the timer, but something's telling me this battle is still going to go on for a little while. So, send in the Cleavor at this point. And it's all down to what this Infernape goes for. Flare Blitz is pretty free. I'm not sure which is better to go for, Close Combat or Flare Blitz. Let's see what they went for. Either way, it's going to be neutral. Yep, there's the Flare Blitz, just in case they send in the Torterra. No, it's super unfortunate. But I mean, the Clearvor was getting Flare Blitzed either way. This Clearvor was basically a sack, I'm pretty sure, just to bring in the Torterra, who they have not terra'd yet. So, the Terra Torterra, be very interesting to see what that thing can do. Down to the last 2 versus 2. So the Choice Band Trimmer. What can this thing do? This is Choice Banded Terra Ground. Once you Terra, you're not going to move to Flare Blitz anymore. Going to switch out actually into the Clefable. We can find out here if it's actually Rocky Helmet or not. They've been loving the Rocky Helmet from Notorious H.I.M over there. Terra Ground Choice Band. This is going to do a lot. Base 120 power. How much? Oh wait, JK, it's Earthquake. So it's not going to have to worry about the what's it called? The Rocky Helmet. So at this point, they're actually going to switch out. Interesting. Perhaps fearing an Ice Beam from this Clefable. Which could perhaps kill, I'm not sure. That's the only reason I can imagine to try to switch out here. Well, the thing is, too, they might not get KO'd by Ice Beam, but it's all about the Infernape in the back. You gotta have a plan for how you're gonna want to deal with the Infernape. You need to keep the Torterra healthy is the thing. So, that's why they switched out. They're gonna go for the Moonblast. Eats it up like a truck. Drops the Spatak, unfortunately. So at this point, Tinkerbell is very low. You know, I think a lot of this endgame problem would have been avoided if they had Headlong Rush instead of Earthquake. But, you know, they probably wanted to remain healthy. So, I'm going to go for the Moonlight there. Goes to, well, not remain healthy. They wanted to not get any defense drops. Goes for the Encore. Reveals the Encore on the Clef, which is really going to drag this battle out. Goes for a T-Bolt. Does a lot more there. As, now they're deciding what they're going to do. Because this thing can obviously Moonlight. Or it can attack. So, real 50-50 here for Scorpion. Figuring out what they want to do on this turn. Depending on how H.I.M plays it. They're actually going to switch out now, anticipating a potential Moonlight. They don't want to get chipped. What are they going to go for? Did they go for an attack or did they go for the heal? Yep, there's the heal. Yeah, if I was H.I.M, I probably would have gone for the heal there myself, so good read on Scorp's part. Earthquake will kill either one from this range, so this should be game in theory. They either send an Infernape and it dies, or wait. Oh, but I guess the thing is they don't want to get chipped. Because before, when they took the Earthquake damage, that was on a switch. But either way, I mean, either way it's going to get chipped. So I guess they're trying to have it live. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Either way, I think this Torterra is going to have to do it. So maybe they were counting on still letting hit the low battery on the charger there. They had Headlong Rush. I'm not sure why they couldn't have gone for Headlong Rush and then switched out and then gone for Earthquake there. That would have been my play personally. I'm not sure. Goes for the Moonblast there. Goes for Earthquake. Because yeah, that extra 20 base power should definitely O-code that Clef. Then you send in uh, the Goodra. It dies to the Infernape. Then you send back in Torterra at full, and you're good to go. But that's just my thoughts. You know, hindsight's always 20/20. I make a lot of these misplays myself. And Scorpions overall gotten a lot of the 50/50s right, gotten a lot of the mind games right. Playing very well so far. It all comes down whether you live this Flare Blitz or not, which they do comfortably. So I guess they were more afraid of an Ice Beam than a Moonblast necessarily. Goes for the Earthquake, but yeah, I believe. Let's see, Moonblast, Encore, Moonlight. I think that was their moves. GG's to Scorpion and Notorious H.I.M. Next up, we have B-Nard versus Brandon. So we got the Claude, BISHARP, Noivern, Urshifu, Cinder, and Cress versus Goodra, Grim, Kilo, Pal, blanking on the name, but Ogerpon, and of course, how could we forget Glamora? So, be interesting to see what both of these coaches go for. You got the screens from the Grimmsnarl, which is always great, but Urshifu can kind of ignore those screens with the Surging Strikes on some of those mons. You have lead Urshifu actually, as seems like they're very tempted to go for this sword stance here. I believe this is Sash Urshifu, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So they're not afraid of anything this Grimmsnarl wants to go for. Go for the Parting Shot, which is going to lower its attack. But the problem is that those crits are going to come through, and it's not going to care one bit. The fact that its attack is lowered, it's still going to hit just as hard as it would otherwise. So figure out what options they want to go. They could go Goodra, because either way, if they go for close combat, it's -1. If they go for Surging Strikes, you resist. Could also go Palafin. Figure out what they want to go into. Either of those will probably be the safest play. You don't want your Pokemon like Kilo and Ogerpon to get chipped or not Glamora either. Yep, there's the captain. They actually go for SD. What? How did I? Seemed like they went for Surging Strikes. I must have. My brain must have swapped where Surging Strikes and Sword Stance was. That's on me. But now this is a +2 Urshifu, in fact, and it's not +2. It's +1 because it got Parting Shotted. And now at this point, they could probably go for a CC here. Because if I'm not mistaken, this Urshifu is Sash. So, if they want to go for a CC, that should be fine. They're actually going to switch out to Claude. Interesting. Wanting to keep Sash intact for later, it would seem. Go for a safe switch into Claude. Easily tank that Draco because of Claude's natural SPDF. Get some healing. And now they're going to want to go for the rocks. Good play here. Always good to get the rocks up for, let's say, a Sash Glamora or getting a chip on a Kilowattrel, which B-Nard is not preferred to run heavy duty boots Kilo. They've mostly run specs. So they send in Clark Kent to get that thing boosted. Goes for rocks. Although at this point, I would assume that this would be a Water Absorb. Yep, there it is. Water Absorb Clodsire. So you can't go for the Water move. You can't go for the Flip Turn or anything like that. Seems like, ooh, the T-Spikes do seem very tempting. Honestly, I would love to go for T-Spikes. Although, yeah, they do still have the Glamora in the back, so you're going to have to wait on that. Just going to go for a nice, safe little Poison Jab. I'm not sure what they plan to hit, but they could always try to get a Poison off on something besides Glamora. Out comes Watson. Going to take those rocks, as we mentioned. Goes for the Poison Jab. Does a ton of damage, actually. Kilo not known for its best defenses. As now... at this point, it depends on... Perhaps we see a TERA Ice on the Kilo for this Clodsire. You don't want to be TERA Water, because it's just going to get water absorbed. Clodsire should eat any hit in theory. I would probably just go for another point. I'm just going to go... They go hard for Shifu. Some questionable plays. Will it work out for him? They're going to go for the TERA. Anticipating perhaps... Yeah, there's the TERA Ice. I feel like Clodsire could have taken it, but maybe it couldn't have. Goes for the Terra Blast. Onto that. I think I would have preferred to go Cresselia personally, rather than have Urshifu have its sash broken and get shipped. This is one of your key chess pieces here. Um, Although you could probably tell by that damage this thing is spec, so maybe the Clodsire actually couldn't have taken it. Gonna go for the Aqua Jet there as Kilo now goes down. Yeah, I think that Crest might have been better, but perhaps they saw that this was an opportunity to once again bring in the Urshifu. Although its sash is now broken. They have gotten up stealth rocks, and that means it's not going to have to worry about like a sash. Well, sashes don't matter anyways. This thing has surging strikes, but they are getting chip on this Palatine, which is always great. They go for a CC actually. Interesting strategy here. They go for the Zen Headbutt, and that takes out the Urshifu. So good on the captain there, getting rid of the Urshifu. But at this point, this Palafin is almost always banded, which Brandon could take advantage of if that's the case. You know, Specs, Kilo, banded Palafin, as strong as they are, kind of leaves the door open for something that could be immune to them, like this Bisharp to come in and simply click a Sword Stance. So, seems like that's what Brandon wants to do here. Yep, they're hovering over it. At this point, obviously, Cap has to switch out. The question is, into what do they go out into? You could go Grimmsnarl, get some screens up. You definitely don't want to parting shot this thing because it's Defiant. But if you can get a screen up, you can kind of mitigate any damage it would have done with a +2 Sword Stance. But that does then leave them open to continue to Sword Stance and break through. And if this Bisharp, I can't remember, but I want to say it has Brick Break for screens, then the screens you just set up, yep, there's the Brick Break. The screens you set up are now gone. So the captain has to keep that in mind as well. At this point, I want to say that Bisharp could easily live any move this thing wants to go for, especially if they TERA. TERA Dragon, you can easily live any hit, even the Earth Power, but it seems like they're questioning whether or not they want to commit to the TERA now or save it for the crest. They're going to do it now. There they go. So this Bisharp with a Violite and TERA is going to live any hit. And now it can't even be Jet Punch because it resists. So at this point, huge threat that this Bisharp is. Goes for the Iron Head, gets rid of the Iron Lotus, gets up the T-Spike, gets hurt by Rocky Helm, but that's okay because you have Clodsire to absorb them. And this Bisharp is looking in a very great position here, very scary for B-Nard, trying to figure out what they can do to take this thing out. At this point, they are weak to Grimmsnarl now, but they actually go out Palafin. Perhaps hoping they can live a Sucker Punch. You know, Palafin has legendary stats. You can probably take a Sucker Punch. MC it can. JK, that's just the power of Bisharp at +2. Yeah, I don't know if it would have been better to try to get screens and then bring it in, but even then, you know what? I'm not sure what they would have gone for. They showed Zen Headbutt. I can't go for Wave Crash or Jet Punch because it resisted. Maybe Close Combat. Either way, Palafin's gone now. Now they send in the Grimmsnarl, who can potentially get up screens, but they would only have him for a short amount of time before they get Brick Breaked. But if they spend the turn Brick Breaking, it could give you a turn to go for something else. Goes for the Sucker Punch, does a decent amount of damage, can't even lie, but now Grimmsnarl's gone without ever having gotten up any screens. Just trying to do whatever you can to take this thing out. You still have Ogerpon, who after those rocks is definitely not going to take out this guy. They could try to stall them out of Sucker Punches, maybe with Spiky Shield or a Sword Stance, but then it all just comes down to 50-50s. If they can stall them successfully out of these Sucker Punches, it'd be great, because then they can outspeed them. Yep, there's another Sucker Punch down. Goes for Sword Stance. Question is how many they're going to... They still have 6 Sucker Punches. They're going to keep going for it. Have they... Yeah, this is tough. Have to outplay. It's super low, but at the same time, they still have Clodsire, Noivern, Cinderace, and Crest left. Meanwhile, all they have left in the back is the Captain Goodra. And yep, there's a Sucker Punch. Yeah, in those cases, I mean, when you have the upper hand like that, it's safe just to keep on spamming Sucker Punch at that point until you can't do it anymore. So down goes the Ogerpon. Gudra is the only one that's left. Drops the Draco and misses. And just immediately gets popped by an Iron Head. Very unfortunate for the captain. Alright, so that was GG's to Brandon and Captain B-Nard. Alright, so here we are with Biradu versus Emeraldminer. Very key match for both of these players trying to get into playoffs at this point. Emerald cannot afford to lose this one. And we've got the Scarf, Hisuian Brave Arrow. We got Life Orb on both Electrode and Barraskewda. Could be very threatening, but you're really, versus a team like Emerald, need to have the ability to switch up moves. As good as Banded Barraskewda it might be, you can't afford to be locked into a water move versus the Ogerpon. So lead off with the Toxtricity here with the Electrode. This is a Terra Ground Electrode. So long as they're not Terra Grass on the Toxtricity, you're pretty much good to go. Now keep in mind, this Iron Moth might be tricky versus Heatran, but if you can get rid of the Heatran, then maybe you can do something. And also the booster energy. Well, if the terrain goes up and the Iron Moth comes in later, then it can be fine with the booster energy. But if terrain's up, then it's still gonna have its Quirk Drive either way. Terra Normal Toxtricity here, actually faster with the Terra, even though this Electrode was speed crep. It seems like they might have been calculating at level 100 instead of level 50. So instead of 100% outspeeding, it's just a speed tie. Either way, though, this Toxtricity is unable to do anything. This soundproof Electrode means it's not going to have to fear Boom Burst, and it's not going to have to worry about any of its electric type moves. So now at this point, kind of Biradu's game, what they want to do. And probably wants to save their Toxtricity in order to do something. But either way, you've got a free Terra Blast ground here. Even if they go Mandibuzz, you just Thunderbolt right after. Sets up the Electric Surge now, so now its electric moves are even stronger as it goes for the Terra Blast ground and takes out the Pincurchin. But because it's Life Orb, it's taken 20% total damage, so it's 80, so probably in range of a Life Orb close combat from this Iron Valiant. So knowing that, Biradu's not going to want to stay in at this point. Seems to really want to go out into the Scizor. Even if they go out into Iron Moth, because the Iron Valiant's Quirk Drive boosted, it can still outspeed it. But if the Iron Moth comes in later with the speed boost and the electric terrain is gone, it can outspeed the Iron Valiant. So goes for the close combat, nice clean to a KO, and also reveals the Life Orb on their side as well. Now at this point, Biradu can easily go for the Bullet Punch, but you gotta imagine they're not gonna want to stay in with the Iron Valiant. But Biradu doesn't have too much to lose at this point. They've lost their Pincurchin. They only have so many more turns of electric terrain. And at this point, I don't believe they even have Hawlucha on Emeraldminer's team, so they don't have to worry about that. They're gonna switch out, probably going out into Mandibuzz. Yep, there's the Buzz Off. Goes for the Bullet Punch and does like maybe 10 to 15%, and it reveals itself through Rocky Helmet. So this Scizor is continuously getting chipped. At this point, you can easily go out into the Pelipper, set up the rain for your Barraskewda, and get the 100% accurate Hurricanes on your Braviary and just start going in. The Drizzle goes up as the U-turn goes out, and remember, trying to stay in this game and keep up momentum as this Pelipper is just a sitting duck. They can also try to U-turn out. They go out into Deafen in order to try to force them out. As obvious switch here is Saitama. You know, they've already revealed the Terra Normal. So apart from that, all it can do is basically maybe Sludge Bomb, Drain Punch, you know, any of its coverage moves, anything it has to try to hit this Electrode. Pretty safe switch here. And then Biradu can just continue to do the same thing again, rinse and repeat. As this Toxtricity, which did very well for Emerald in the last week versus Stefan, is just a sitting duck, cannot touch this Electrode. Well, I guess they were praying for the fact that this Electrode wasn't soundproof. So, at this point, just easily Volt Switch out here. No ground types on Emerald's side. I believe only ground type might be the Toedscruel. So this Electrode is free to just continue to switch in and out with the Volt Switch. And withdraw Deafen there. thinned in Tommy Tomato now, as takes the Volt Switch. Big risky play there for Emerald, baiting on the fact that they would go for the Terra Blast ground because that's what they did for the past couple turns. At this point, though, you can easily come in with the Barraskewda. You've also got your is it Tinted Lens? I want to say it's Tinted Lens, but I haven't seen yet. Sends in Big Bad Barraskewda. Safest play there. At least the Heatran gets some leftovers recovery. So Heatran lives to see another day. If it went for Terra Blast ground, it would have been a dead Heatran right then and there. At this point, Biradu still has all of his Mons. Emerald only missing the Pincurchin. Seems to really want to go for the Drill Run. The mid-ground between Ogerpon W and Heatran. But they also have a Mandibuzz who can manage to take some of those moves. So has a lot of switch-ins for a lot of this Barraskewda's moves. It has to get the right play on the right turn in order to get the kill. It seems like they're going to want to send in maybe this Braviary, who, yep, is indeed Tinted Lens. Has Hurricane, Vacuum Wave, U-Turn. All right. And Defog as well. You gotta love the Scarf Defog because Emerald loves their hazards. So, goes with a foul play. Got a billion%. Unfortunately for Biradu, when they made this Braviary, it was actually just caught in game, not gen. So that means that it did not have 0 attack IVs. So that foul play might have done a little bit more than it should. At this point, though, this Braviary is so low, might not be able to do a whole lot more the rest of the game. And it also takes Rocky Helmet chips. So all it takes now is for some Stealth Rocks to take this thing out, because they don't have any other form of removal at this point. In comes Goda. Goes for yet another foul play there. At this point, you still have the 100% accurate Hurricane. It's going to do even more than the... Well, will it do more than the Weather Ball? Because actually the Weather Ball was weather boosted. So it's 100 base power on top of Stab and in the Rain. I think that's how that works. Either way, at this point, going to go for the U-turn. And I sit by a Rocky Helmet. And now they simply have to send in... Yep, there's the Electrode. Yeah, I feel like that Weather Ball would have done a lot more. Perhaps trying to go for some confusion. Could also likely anticipated the Ogerpon water coming in. Didn't want to have it take the water absorb. At this point, though, is in with Electrode, and not a whole lot can take this thing on. The terrain boost is gone, so that means that the Iron Valiant no longer outspeeds it. They do, however, have seems like they're going to go on Ogerpon. Probably the only thing that can live one hit from this thing at this point. They're getting very chipped, and if this thing gets any more chipped, then this Electrode can kind of just sweep. But the key thing to keep in mind is that eventually, with this Life Orb chip, this Electrode will soon be in range of a Vacuum Wave. Brings this Painted Lady down to about half, takes more Life Orb chip, and now is going to bring back in the Pelipper. And sets up the Rain once again for the Barraskewda, gets 8 turns out of it. But now they are a +1 Ogerpon W. And not a whole lot wants to switch in now at this point, because everything else, Scizor, Bullet Punch won't kill it. You can't switch hard into the Barraskewda. You need to save the Electrode. Electrode is your win con, so you're going to want to sack off the Braviary there. Goes for the Trailblaze and takes it out. If this thing had been healthier, though, perhaps it could have. It would have had to take 2 of those, and that would have mean that the Ogerpon would have been faster than the Barraskewda and Rain. But at this point, Barraskewda still outspeeds them, and they're going to go for the Poison Jab on this thing. Switches out into the Mandibuzz, which is still fairly healthy, and does about another 15%. Eats it up, taking Rocky Helmet and Life Orb. Very crucial that this Barraskewda be chipped, because that's the only way that Emerald plans on beating it, basically, with Iron Valiant, Vacuum Wave. And now at this point, they've got to consider their options. They need to keep Barraskewda healthy. They can't risk this thing taking any more chip, as now they're going to bring in the Iron Moth. However, like we said before, Heatran is still up on the opposing side. So that means that all that Emerald has to do is U-turn out now, and with that momentum, he can bring in the Heatran. And now, because the Hisuian Braviary is gone, they are free to get rocks up and not risk them being removed. And there's no switch into this Heatran. They do have the substitute, but Heatran usually has Earth Power. They cannot touch this thing. You know, they've got the Flash Fire, they're immune to poison, 4 times resistant to Fairy, and there goes the rocks. So now, Pelipper, when it comes in, is going to be very weakened. I think actually, yeah, it's dead to rocks. Heatran will be weakened by rocks. The Barraskewda will be weakened by rocks, but it can still get a few more hits off with Life Orb and Rocky Helmet. At this point, though, not a whole lot this Iron Moth can do. It can try to sub, but that's just going to give more HP back to this Heatran with leftovers. So, goes for another Dazzling Gleam, goes for Earth Power now, and takes it out. So, at this point, if there's some more leftovers recovery. Interesting play here, perhaps trying to, there's no close combat on this thing, so perhaps just trying to bluff the CC, force them to switch out and take damage on something else. Oh, also, it seems like they're going to try to defog the rocks, but this Heatran was EV'd in such a way as to outspeed Scizor. And because of that, even in the rain, because of how chipped Scizor was, it's going to die to the Flamethrower. And now at this point, wondering what exactly they're going to want to do here. Pelipper is dead to rocks, so you can't bring that in. Your only hope now is this Barraskewda, but it's going to be taking Life Orb chip every single time, and they've still got 5 Mons to sack over there. They could easily sack off their Mons until they have Valiant in such a way that they could win that way. Going to go for the Liquidation, save Tommy the Tomato here, send in Buzz Off instead on the Liquidation, forced it to take more Rocky Helmet chip. Rocky Helmet and Life Orb that is easily going to be in range of a Vacuum Wave from Iron Valiant. Goes for the Ice Fang, finally takes it out. But this thing is so chipped at this point, any priority move will basically take out the Barraskewda. And all they have left in the back is the Electrode, who, even if they manage to survive the Vacuum Wave, will likely die to Life Orb shit, by the way. And then Pelipper dies to rocks. So in comes Iron Valiant. Goes for the Vacuum Wave there to take out the Barraskewda. If they had Aqua Jet, they could have got some more chip off on Iron Valiant, but they didn't have it. Yeah, they wanted to run as much coverage as possible, which is fair. Goes with Thunder now. This Electrode is fairly low, but because of how fast it is, they likely have a decent amount of HP investment. They probably just sped crept it. The fact that the Toxtricity was speed tying means they have likely have some HP investment. Goes with Thunder, but unfortunately misses, and now that it's going to be in range of a second Vacuum Wave. And with that, the Terra Ground Electrode finally goes down. In comes Pelipper now, and it is simply going to die to those Stealth Rocks. GG's to Biradu and Emeraldminer. Alright, and next up we have Aprater versus LioneL. We've got some webs, we've got the Jirachi, we got the Covert Cloak over there on the Phalanx. Maybe perhaps it ignores, I don't know if that ignores Toxic Chain beat up or not. But let me write these mons down. We got Vika, Jirachi, Phalanx, and then on LioneL's side we have Regieleki. I know I saw Urshifu Dark. We got Fez. I know there's a Bronzong. As gonna withdraw the flash there into in comes now the Bronzong. Yep, there we go. There's Sticky Webs right off the bat. As now goes for the Volt Switch out. Gonna send in something else. We also have Ceruledge. Hisuian Samurott, and Ice Cube. Goes to the Fire Punch, does not do a lot, but does get the burn actually. Lots of burns from Fire type moves this week. That burn Bulldoze will do absolutely nothing to this Jirachi, as now they're gonna safely go for rocks here. So it gets those rocks up versus this Bronzong. Goes for the Body Press, still affected by burn, so it's not gonna do anything. This Bronzong has really been limited at this point. And now they're probably gonna try to take advantage of this opportunity send in the Cerulege, which should be able to start setting up. Pointed Stone Digging, though, with the Bulldoze is going to lower its speed. And this thing is not weak armor, so it's not going to get any type of boost. And they're just going to go for the Poltergeist. Gets attacked by the Rocky Helmet. And down goes Bronzong. So, Cerulege gets a nice kill. Powerful Poltergeist. As now in comes the Flash. The Regieleki once again. As no ground type. No Urshifu Blood Moon. So, Electric moves are pretty free here. Goes for a Bitter Blade. The Reflect means they're going to be able to lift more hits. The opposing Light Screen does wear off, though. As now we go for the T-Bolt. Goes for the Poltergeist, attacked by the Light Clay. Geez, 8 turns have passed already. It's been going by so fast, didn't feel like 8 turns. Alright. Regieleki's gone now, though. Still has a Reflect up that's going to go for a little while. The Light Screen's gone, though. As now Sinistcha comes in. Going to be affected by those webs. Going to go for the Poltergeist. Yep, there's the TERA Sinistcha. Who's going to be able to start Calm Mining up is the now TERA Steel. As, let's see what it wants to do. Goes for the Poltergeist, attack for its leftovers. How much does that do? Does absolutely nothing because they Reflect, and with the Strength Sap, they're going to just get Recovery. And now this Pokemon can just chill. Now in comes the Phalanx. Gonna try to stall out these turns. Although I'm worried even with a no retreat +1, it's not going to do a whole lot, but it will at least have the power of being super effective. And you're stalling out the turns, you're gaining some bulk on this guy. If they want to Strength Sap, though, here's the key part, is that they will instead get boosted. It does give them recovery, and not only that, it's going to keep giving it more recovery, but the more you do it, the stronger this guy gets. Seems like they're going to choose to get rid of their leftovers. Goes for the Machagacha. Doesn't want to boost it any further, it would seem, but this thing has plenty of ways of healing even without leftovers. It's got Strength Sap and it's got Machagacha. Goes for the Close Combat there because the Reflect, it's still able to hang on just barely. Just goes to show this thing bulk. Dodges a Machagacha, so they can go for another one now. This is huge for Phalanx. In comes Urshifu Dark. Gonna get caught in a sticky web. This Phalanx is in an incredible position now. Urshifu is not Focus Sash, so it just goes down. They do have the Pheasantipity, and Reflect finally wears off, which is great. They finally stalled out those turns. Yep, in comes Fez. Though I wonder, they must have some type of coverage. This is a TERA Captain, as yep, TERA Ground. So all you have to do, they actually go for a knockoff. Interesting. I'm questioning why. Oh, I think I remember now. I think Phalanx had a pretty easy win position from here. They wanted to give them a turn or two for this Fez to do something, because otherwise they could have just high horsepowered right off the rip TERA Ground. But seems like their mercy for this Pheasantipity has run out. High horsepower will simply take it out now. In comes Biradu the Cheetar. And it's going to take some nice rocks. And all it's going to take now is for a simple close combat to take this thing out. And then after that, it's just Sinistcha who is going to die to yet another close combat. As the Phalanx is taking some more shit from the sand. In comes Sinistcha, but all it's going to take is one more close combat. And down goes the Sinistcha after that. Probably the best that this Phalanx has done in this entire league, honestly. So that's going to be GG's to Aprater and LioneL. Very great game. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Game you've all been waiting for. The game that is going to be the only place to watch this. Raymon versus Arcaniner. So, here we have Life Orb Excalibur. Very powerful for Raymon. We got the Heavy Duty Boot Zapdos. Then we've also got mons like AV, Azu, and Salic Berry Dugtrio, as well as Expert Belt Probopass and the Choice Scarf on the Dracloak. Meanwhile, Arcaniner's got Great Tusk, Arcanine, Jolteon, Empoleon, Mismagius, and Haxorus. Just a bunch of offensive Pokemon, you know, but also a lot of cool lower tier mons. This is just the type of stuff that we love to see here in the Battle Hub Draft League. Very interested to see what happens here. Yeah, it could really go either way. You know, you've got the Excalibur that could sweep. Then you've also got a Haxorus that can sweep once the Azu goes down. So here leads Zapdos versus the Mismagus. You know, I feel like we've seen sometimes. I believe Shaggy drafted Mismagus last time, and he also used a Specs lead Mismagus at times. Goes for Shadow Ball, does a good amount of chip. That's gotta be Specs by the look of it, doing over half to a Zapdos. At this point, they're going to need to switch out, and indeed, there's their answer. AV Azumarill. How well can it eat the hits? Thankfully, this Mismagus' chip should easily be in range of another hit. Azu takes that pretty comfortably, and now it can simply go for a liquidation. They have Pokemon like the Empoleon that can come in and mainly wall. Yep, there's the Empoleon to wall this Azumarill's attacks, but you will notice they do have the superpower ready to go. Raymon is not going to go into a battle under prepped. Superpower, usually not that too great of a move on Azu at this point. Goes for that Flash Cannon, doesn't do a whole lot, and Azu returns with the kill. You know, usually I would run Superpower whenever I didn't have Knockoff for my Azumarill, I didn't have any other moves, but in a metagame where you have Knockoff, Ice Spinner, you don't have to resort to moves like Superpower and Bulldoze. But in this case, Superpower can still be a great move if you need to hit those darn pesky Steel types that wall you. Now in comes the Arcanine with the Intimidate. You have a couple options here. They seem like they actually just want to go for the Aqua Jet. Sack off the Azu. It's done its job, it would seem. But now that the Azu's gone, Haxorus can put in some work. But they felt comfortable, I guess, because they still have the Probopass that can Terra Fairy and not have to worry about the Haxorus. And now in this case, Raymon is making a huge gamble here, knowing that they're going to switch out their Fire type on the Rock type, bring in the Great Tusk, which would ordinarily completely destroy this Probopass. Arcanine comes in. This is a Terra Captain, my friend. And this is going to go for a Expert Belt boosted Dazzling Gleam, and out goes the Great Tusk. Great Tusk is gone. It's crazy, gang. I can't believe it. The Probopass. Raymon really making a name for Probopass here, as now Mismagus has no choice but to come in and try to wall this thing. Mismagus has fairly decent special attack, however, it's not going to be able to. Look at that, can't even necessarily 2 KO. It might be a roll, we'll see. At this point, Raymon is going to get up the rocks though, as now Mismagus can go for yet another Shadow Ball. And yep, gets the roll that time. So Probopass is down, but it's done its job. It took out the Haxorus and it got up rocks. However, the switch-ins to Haxorus are becoming fewer and fewer, far between. But they do have a nice and powerful Scarf Dracula, just in case that pesky Haxorus tries to go for a Dragon Dance sweep to still outspeed it. But now this thing is locked into Outrage, and they still have that Intimidate Arcanine. But let's not forget that Excalibur is still there, as Ice Shard for the Haxorus, as Mismagus does go down. So we got the Arcanine that's still left. We got, of course, the Haxorus. And I didn't finish taking notes on all the mons I had left. Ooh, Arcanine is not boots, and it takes chips, so very great for Raymon here, having this thing take that necessary chip. Dracula is locked in though. Does a good amount of damage, so Arcanine can only come in 2 more times. And based on the damage that it did to Azumarill with that extreme speed, I would surely this thing is banded if it's not heavy duty boots, which we already know it's not boots, so I don't know what else this thing could be. At this point, Raiden is still a little chipped from that Mismagus Shadow Ball, but it can hopefully put in some work here still with. On Raymon's side, I mean, we've lost Azumarill, we've lost the Probopass, we've lost the Dracloak, I believe. It's Dougie is the only thing that has come out yet, as well as the Excalibur. Arcanine's going to switch out here, go out into Jolteon, go for the Tailwind, setting up the Tailwind. Raymon trying to go for the Tailwind seat, but I think after this battle, a little bit of a spoiler, I'm not sure if they're going to want to use this move again. So they're going to U-turn out, get the safe momentum. That was turn 1 of Tailwind. This is turn 2 of Tailwind right now. They have 4 turns total. Going to Terra Ice on the Jolteon. Use up their Terra. So now both sides have used Terra. Goes for the Hurricane. Oh, I thought they would click U-turn. They went for Hurricane. My bad. But at least the Zapdos got to use Tailwind and was faster. But now their Terra Ice is going to take it out. But that will still give them the safe switch out. So now they bring in the Excalibur here, has 2 turns now to abuse this Tailwind. So gonna have a nice easy Earthquake. They can switch into Arcanine and get easily killed. The Arcanine, they could have also trapped the Arcanine with the Trio, but it would have taken a lot of... Well, it was locked into Crunch, so it would have been dealt with, but I guess they wanted to set up a Zapdos to Tailwind. In comes Arcanine now, takes more chip, lands 1 more turn. I believe Tailwind still has 1 more turn here. This is the last turn of it, so it's going to go down here, but they still have young Haxorus in the back. Goes for E-Speed, doesn't do a whole lot. Earthquake chip, and Arcanine goes down, and all that's left is Jolteon goes down. They have 1 more. I feel like there's 1 more I must be forgetting. Haxorus takes a nice little chip. No, that's the last mon. I think I just forgot to erase which other mon they had left. So at this point, this is the pivotal turn. They're going to go for the Ice Shard, do a little over half, and now they go for the Scale Shot, and that is going to take out the Excalibur here. And then raise the Haxorus' speed. This was the key turn. Because of Tailwind running out, they were forced to go for Ice Shard there. And now, this Amigos has to go for Endure. However, Scale Shot will raise this Dugtrio's Haxorus' speed once again, and because of that, it's now going to be faster. Now, if this Dugtrio had Sucker Punch, it might be a different story because it's -2 defense. But unfortunately, this Haxorus, because of those Scale Shots, is now going to take out the Haxorus. And that's going to be GG's. I can't even remember what other mon Arcanine had. That is the game. GG's to both Raymon and Arcanine. So as you can see here, we have Pokemaster versus DaBest, which we're going to have some nice little footage clips of what's going on. 6-0. Oh my goodness. Poor Pokemaster. Looks like DaBest was able to set up the Sneasler, and Zoroark also got some kills. And a complete 6-0 by DaBest. They are out for revenge this season. And after that, the next match we have is going to be Almond versus Icy Dude, which, as you can see, forfeit loss. Almond didn't want to play, and so Icy Dude gets the win there, helping them out to get to have a chance at playoffs here. And then we have Stefan versus Just Weavile, who also really needs this win in order to make it to playoffs. Roaring Moon got 4 kills. Massive sweep, you know. I guess it must have set up a Dragon Dance or something in the sun, been fast and everything. Typhlosion, gone. Slowking Galar, gone. And once it's boosted enough, I mean, Darkrai can go down. And looks like the Sylveon got a kill. That was probably on the Darkrai and maybe the Heracross. Lando must have gotten shipped down enough to the point to where Roaring Moon could still kill it. Other than that, though, Typhlosion did get a kill on the Lucario, maybe. And the Torkoal also died to something, maybe. The Heracross, no, definitely the Hisuian Typhlosion. Unless the Heracross killed it from ship. And Sylveon also died, probably due to the Typhlosion, but kind of unclear. So, that's going to be it for this week. Let's get into the footage that we have from Pokemaster versus DaBest. Alright, so DaBest brings in the Sneasler, but it's actually not the Sneasler. It's the Hisuian Zoroark against the Galarian Weezing. Going to switch out into the Sableye here. Go for a nice big bad Shadow Ball. Does about 60%. And as we can see from this next turn, seems like it might have gotten paralyzed or something. Unclear. Or maybe this is another turn and the Sableye went down to the Shadow Ball either way. But Zoroark is still going to be paralyzed, and now we see that Delphox is in versus the Espeon, forces it out, brings in the Chandelure, goes for a Shadow Ball, and takes even more chip. So now at this point, the Hisuian Zoroark is going to get more chip onto this Weezing, almost takes it out, finally is revealed as the Zoroark, and remember, this Zoroark got 2 kills, so its 2 kills seem to be on Sableye and Weezing. And now at this point, that means that the real Sneasler is going to get the rest. So Sneasler here is going to go for the substitute on the Espeon. You might wonder, well, what's the point of doing that? Well, they're trying to stall out these reflect turns. And so because they had substitute, they were able to stall out long enough for the reflect to wear off. And now they can go for Dire Claw and Oko, the Espeon that's Terra Fairy. So good night, Espeon. And now Walking Wake comes in, and because of the chip it took from, well, something, it is going to get knocked out by this close combat. Not often you see a Walking Wake die. Well, it's not the one hit, but it has pretty chunky bit of HP left. Now all you have to do is Shadow Claw on the Chandelure, and that is a critical hit. Didn't matter at the end, but that's going to be GG's. We will see you guys for week 8.